Pete mentioned that we should go through the Slack at the end of the training and create an FAQ. We'll definitely go through and pull out some of the key things that were unclear that we clarified in the Slack and put those into the documentation. We're also not going to get rid of this Slack channel, so everyone here is welcome to continue to reference it. We probably won't, as a group of instructors, be checking it frequently because we have a lot of other Slacks going on as well. So there will be other ways to contact us with additional questions and things beyond the end of this course. But you are welcome to continue to use the Slack and communicate with each other and ask questions and that sort of thing. Yeah, we'll get into more of about that later. That was a good question, Pete. Another question that came through was, it would be good to also mention some API resources that can be used to access external resources like the server logs to read, say, user login, modified resources, etc. Not sure exactly what that's asking, but I think one way to think about that, or one way to answer that question is a simple one, which is go to developers.dhs2.org. I'm going to share my screen again here so that everyone can see this. Again, this is the canonical place where we want to link everything to do with developing applications and integrations and those types of things for DHIS2. If you go to the docs page and then you find the API reference here, that will take you to docs.dhis2.org, which has the entire reference for the DHIS2 core API. So if there's anything that the DHIS2 API supports, it's in this document, and yeah, that's where you'll find it. This question specifically referenced server logs, user logins, and modified resources. Those types of things are not accessible through the API because that would be to some extent a security vulnerability. So the server logs are only available on the server itself, not available through the API. Same with audit logs for things like user logins and auditing of modifications of resources. So if that's what you're looking for, probably the API isn't the way that the way you want to go. All of the documentation about the audit logs, for instance, is also on this docs.dhis2.org. So it'll tell you what what auditing is done. It'll also tell you where the audit information is stored, and all of that. So there's lots of resources in this documentation, on this documentation site, docs.dhis2.org, also accessible from developers.dhis2.org. Good question. Another question here about, I'm not sure what the challenge that Carlos was running into here was, but I thought I'd just briefly recap. This is a analytics request on for the analytics API of DHIS2, which is possible to use to build or to request using the DHIS2, what was it? Sorry, the app runtime data query. This is it's a little bit blurry, unfortunately, but this is from the app runtime introduction from the workshop 1. So this is in both the video as well as the slides that are linked from the GitHub. But it shows that this, the equivalent of this analytics request is, unfortunately it's blurry, apologize for that, but is this request. So this is how you request a analytics API with multiple dimensions and a filter, and you can use that to generate your request. You can see the result of that if you want. Again, if we go to developers.dhis2.org, where everything is found, go to the docs page, find the app runtime, click on the query playground on the left here. We go to that query playground that I talked about earlier. we can now change this to, so like this is what I had here from previously. And I can see that that will give me the name, ID, email, and introduction for each of the, or for the current logged in user. But I can change this resource. So I'm going to change the name to, I don't know, test or something. I'm going to change the resource to analytics. I'm going to change the, let's see if we can use the specific things that were mentioned here. Skip meta. So no fields. Skip meta. True. And then dimension. Now we're going to make this an array. So for certain elements, you can turn them into an array when there are multiple copies of that, or multiple instances of that parameter in the request that you're trying to generate. So we can go ahead and copy some of these. Maybe I won't do all of them. Do another one here. Let's just do this. Okay, so in this case, there is a problem, but it's a problem with the specific org unit that we're requesting. My user doesn't have access to that org unit. I don't know what that org unit is. I just copy and pasted this. It might not be from this endpoint specifically. It looks like it is. And you get the same thing when you make that same request without the runtime. So that's an issue that is behind the scenes here. You can actually see if we look at the network here, execute this query again, we can actually see that it's making the same request. So this is the URL that it's making, or the request that it's making, and that's the same thing effectively as what we wanted. Hopefully that answers your question, Carlos.
Hi, Justin.
Let's see. Baktash asked, is it necessary to add the global CLI for every project? Because the CLI is global, no, it is not. However, for any platform application, you do need to have a local dependency on CLI app scripts, which is the DS2 app platform. That is installed automatically when you use D2 app scripts init from the global CLI. But you should only need to install the global CLI once per machine or per environment that you're running in. Plans to remove, no. There are no plans to remove any of this material. So the Slack will stay up for at least a reasonable amount of time. I don't know what that time will be, but we don't have any plans to take it down. The other course content, so the GitHub is public and open source. You can fork it if you're really worried that we're going to take it down, but it's all there, and we're not going to. It's all open knowledge, so no plans to take that down. We may add to it, and we may use the course platform to create a self-paced version of this course that takes some of the learning from the live course and enhances it and makes it a little bit easier to digest without a live instructor. That is in the plan, but yeah, hopefully that answers your question there. Cool. Actually, I realized that we are not recording. I don't know if we need to, but Alice, are you there? Would you mind turning on that recording? Oh no, it is recording. Sorry. Perfect.
Hi, Estin.
Hi.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the demo. Sorry to take you back to the demo of the application deployment. It's
Sure.
just a clarification. Is it possible to use the code sandbox to develop something and then make a deployment in the sandbox itself, which I can download in my machine and then deploy on the local instance?
It's a good question, and I think the answer is no. It may be possible, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. As I demonstrated last time, I think once you have a code sandbox that has some application in it. This one, this is actually not the right code sandbox because this is one for testing, which doesn't have an application. Let's try this one. You can run the build, but downloading that file is a little bit more difficult because it's ignored. It's hard to figure out how to download that file from Code Sandbox. What you can do, however, is do this file export as zip. So you can develop completely in Code Sandbox if you want, and then file export as zip, and then it will download the zip file, unzip that, and then run yarn build on your local machine, and then it will generate the files for you. I know that's not the cleanest thing, but Code Sandbox isn't really a great place for production development. It's better for demonstration and sharing code samples. Would recommend running on a local machine if you can instead. The other question, yeah, so the other thing that we may do at some point in the future, or we will be doing at some point in the future, probably before the end of the year, I would say, we will have some additional commands in the platform that let you automatically deploy and publish your application from the command line to a DHIS2 instance. In that case, it should be possible to do that from a terminal window here. You could run, for instance, yarn, it might be yarn deploy or something. I don't know, localhost 8080. And then that would automatically build and install the application into the localhost 8080 instance. That does not exist yet, but it should at some point in the future, in which case it might work to develop in Code Sandbox. But again, I wouldn't recommend it because of some of the kind of quirks with Code Sandbox. I would recommend running on a local machine instead.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification and the details.
Sure, no problem. Any other questions, comments, concerns, jokes, anything? Okay. Sounds like no. I think we will be sharing a few things regarding our plans for the Slack, which will be just to leave it open. The instructors won't necessarily be checking it all the time, so I wouldn't use it as the main place to reach out on in the future. But one of the main things that the best things that you can do for that is you can follow the articles that are posted on developers.dhis2.org to find out new things about new library releases and that sort of thing. You can also click on the community in the top right corner here, and that will take you to the app development category in the DHIS2 community. You are then highly encouraged to create topics and ask questions about things in DHIS2 application development. The core team checks this periodically. And also, even better, you can then discuss with your colleagues or fellow community members in DHIS2 as DHIS2 developers and answer each other's questions as well. So that would probably be the best way to reach us or ask questions going forward. Obviously, if you come up with or if you find a bug in a particular library, or have a feature request for a particular library, you can post it on the community, and I recommend doing that. But it's also good to just open an issue on the GitHub for that library. So GitHub DHIS2, and then there is a repository for each of the libraries that is also linked from the documentation. So for instance, we can go to developers.dhis2.org again, look at the documentation for the app platform. If you click on the GitHub logo in the top right here, that will take you to the app platform repository in DHIS2. Click on issues, and then you can create a new issue for something that you want to bring up. And then we will address that. We can track it. We can say that this is something that people want. Other people who want the same thing can vote for it, because we only have so many development resources, we can't do everything. So we will have to pick and choose what we develop. But if there's a lot of people and a good use case for something that is wanted in these libraries, we'll definitely incorporate it into the roadmap. That would be the best. Those two are the best ways to contact us or get questions answered in the future. It's GitHub and the community, I would say. You can also, of course, reach out to us directly, though we are quite busy sometimes, so we apologize if we don't get back to you right away, but that's also possible. My email is austin, AUSTIN, @dhis2.org, which is just here, austin@dhis2.org. And that is that's a good way to get a hold of us. Also, if you have any questions about the process of applying for or submitting your application to the App Store, for instance. Any other questions just now before I move on? Would it be possible to make part one of this academy available to people who are not here there in June? It is available. It has been available for some time. It was shared with you in the links at the beginning of this workshop. It was sent out in an email, as well as it's linked in the GitHub as well, I believe. So if we go to github.com/dhis2/academy web app dev 2020, you can have right here, you have all of the content for workshop 1. Which also has the session recordings available on YouTube. So if you click on that link, you have all of the sessions, the recordings of all of the sessions from the first workshop in June. And all of the material for that session is right here. So you have the different links for the different sections with links to, for instance, the slides for that section as well. So yes, it's all available. And the same will be true for this workshop. So workshop number 2, we are recording all of these sessions. We'll be posting them on YouTube. Some of them are already available on the OpenEDX platform for the first 2 days, I believe. And then yesterday's and today's sessions will also be made available. And all of the content, if we go back to the main page here, is available under workshop 2 here in the GitHub as well. So you can find all of the content for the 4 days of this workshop here as well. Hopefully that answers that question. Okay, looks like maybe Emmanuel Massawe, you solved your own problem there, potentially. Okay, so we have just half an hour left. I will use that mostly to just share some logistics and some final resources. We don't have any more content for today. It's just half an hour left. But again, if you do have any questions, feel free to share them, and we can address that. So a few things to logistical or kind of future things to talk about. The first is the app competition. So again, I keep saying this, but pretty much everything is on developers.dhis2.org. So developers.dhis2.org, if you go to the events page, you can see that there's a link to the DS2 App Competition. Currently, the deadline is next week. That may be extended, but it currently is next week. And you can click on this link and find out more information about how to submit your application to, and the finalists will be invited to present those applications to the entire DHIS2 community, basically on a big stage in September, and the community will then vote for the winner of that competition. I recommend that everyone here, you are some of the most trained and skilled application developers on DHIS2, because you're taking part in one of the first web app development trainings, workshops, academies. So I highly recommend, if you have an app that you're working on, especially if it's something that is useful for the DHIS2 community or public health in general or anything like that, to submit it, and feel free to reach out to me or to our team if you have any questions about that or want feedback on your app before submitting, just to give like some initial kind of suggestions about how it could be maybe improved or better your odds. There are some specific criteria about what makes a good application that is submitted to this challenge that will be used in judging those submissions. So highly recommend that people take a look at that. The second piece of that is the annual conference, which probably people from many of your organizations are going. I don't know who on this call specifically is planning to attend. It's online this year, so it's very easy to make it possible to go. Last year, this is the picture from last year in Oslo. And yeah, it's basically just an annual meeting of all of the whole DHIS2 community. Again, will be an opportunity for the finalists of the app competition to present their apps in the future. I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions about the app competition or the conference that are coming up? Those are coming up in the next week or month. No questions. Okay, sounds good. Hopefully that means we'll get lots of submissions. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions in the meantime about that submission process. So now to talk a little bit about the OpenEDX, the Academy, the course itself today. So again, we have this OpenEDX platform. Recommend that you spend some time to finish up the submissions that you, or the tasks that you haven't completed yet. We'll be going through all of those and giving you feedback and grades on those. In some cases, it is possible that you'll be asked to resubmit, or you may want to resubmit your task. Please reach out to us on Slack. If you can reach out to me directly or any of the instructors on Slack if you want your submission to be reset so that you can submit it again. And this is mostly, it's mostly there, the grades are mostly there to give you some feedback and adjust your learning so that you can get as much as possible out of this workshop. It doesn't really count for that much. The one thing that it does count for is a certification for those who have participated in the June Academy, the July project, and this workshop. So if you've done all three of those, you're eligible for the certification, which we'll be going through and doing, yeah, basically tallying up the grades for all of those pieces and sending out those certifications before the end of the month, I believe. So that'll be basically next week. We should be going through that. If you have any questions about, does anybody have any questions about the exercises, the academy in general, certification, anything like that?
Is Austin.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's a very detailed session and all those things. With respect to the assignments and the certifications,
yeah,
I have a request, also a clarification. Due to some heavy busy schedule, I couldn't complete my July project. Is it closed or is it still open to submit? That is one question. The second question is actually the assignments for this workshop. I don't see any deadlines fixed so far, though it was saying 2029, but I think it is maybe a mistake. So what is the deadlines you are planning to give for us, and how we will be getting the certificates at the end? Thank you.
Sure. So we'll be reaching out about the certificates as I mentioned, before the end of the month. So that I don't have any other details on the logistics of that, but we'll be reaching out to all the people that participated in all three pieces. The July project, can I actually get a show of hands? I know that there were about 15 submissions for the July project, and we've graded about half of them. We're going through and trying to give detailed feedback about each of them. So we're actually going to be going back and adding feedback to some of the ones that we've graded as well already. I am not opposed to allowing additional submissions for the July project. I don't think we're not very strict on deadlines here, except for the kind of the deadline for sending out the certificates, which would be next week. Similarly for the tasks. Can I just get everyone who is on this call who has not submitted the July project and would like to, can you raise your hand here in the participants list? Okay, I see one. Maybe there was another one.
Hi, Austin.
Yes.
Actually, due to the COVID situation, and I was involved with a lot of front-end working at the front lines, and I couldn't attend the first workshop and the July project. But I mean, after going through the previous material, I already completed the task which I allocated for the workshop one. I already have saved the links with me. So probably I was wondering whether if there's a ongoing thing. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Sure. Yeah. I think that is okay. So I will discuss with the rest of my instructor team and just make sure that this is okay. But I think that what I will say is anyone who wants to submit any of the exercises from workshop 1, from the July project, from workshop 2, and can get those in by the beginning of next week. I'm happy to count those and not work to not be too strict about the deadline specifically. So yeah, thank you to everyone that was able to get the July project in at the beginning of August. We really appreciate it, and helped us to mostly helped us to build the content for this academy somewhat, or this workshop. But yeah, I think I'll discuss that and send out a message on Slack, but that's what I'm going to tentatively propose at this point. Hopefully that is okay with everyone. Yeah, I think that was about it. In terms of the exercises for days 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the workshop 2, so this week, there's no, probably I wouldn't recommend waiting until 2029 to submit. But there's no strong requirement for those if you're not trying to do the certification. If you want to do the certification, get those in by Monday, basically, by beginning of next week. Yeah, I would say Monday would be a good time for that. But if not, we're not going to put hard deadlines on the task submission in OpenEDX, I don't think. Because at some point we will close the course because we will move into the open or the self-paced version. But it's mostly about your own learning and figuring out what is useful to you. So we won't be putting hard deadlines on those the submission of those tasks if you don't want to. I would say that after beginning of next week, you can't necessarily count on the course staff coming in and grading those after the fact, because we'll probably be moving on to our own work and other academies and things coming up. But if you would like to work on those exercises, you're more than welcome to do so after the beginning of next week. Any other questions about logistics, about the academy, the workshops?
Mine is not a question.
Okay.
Just a point to ask you. Usually when we attend these DHIS2 workshops and the trainings, we get a chance to go around and get some souvenirs in the new country we visit. This time it is virtual, and is there any chance to send some souvenirs through the certificates, along with the certificate?
I don't know about that. I will ask. But that's a good idea. I will see. Maybe not for this workshop, but at least some in the future. That's a good idea to include for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's about it for us. We will wrap up a few minutes early, unless anyone else has any other questions or wants to discuss anything. I do have, we'll have one request at the end of this, at the end of this workshop to have everyone turn on their video, and we'll just take basically the equivalent of a group photo on Zoom. So we'll do that in a few minutes. So if you're need to get decent before you are on that video, please do so now. I'm just going to look and see if there are any more questions coming in on Slack.
Once again, Justin and team, because we are at the near of closing the workshop, I would like to thank Astin and the whole team for the great session. It was really, really useful. You shared all your experience, knowledge, and you were very patient in answering our questions, even though we make a lot of mistakes. You shared a ton of stuff with us. It's very, very useful. I hope we will use it, and I really have a chance to share my knowledge and experience with the community in future. Thank you very much. It's a great, great job.
Thank you very much. Really do appreciate that, and that feedback is very, very helpful. And we know there is a lot of content and a lot of material to cover. So any feedback that you have on the whether it's too much to cover or it's still too complicated is very, very helpful as well. But also the positive feedback, we always appreciate hearing that, and especially as we're looking to schedule more of these types of workshops, maybe some for people that are less experienced than everyone on this this call, and maybe some for the more advanced topics that we weren't even able to get to on this workshop, that for really advanced development of DHIS2 applications. I think those would be the positive feedback is really helpful for us as well to give that feedback to the management team for DHIS2 to make sure to show how useful these projects or these workshops can be. So yeah, thank you all for participating in that. On that note, yes?
Sorry,
no problem.
just wanted to say that I just posted in the chat the link to the final survey. So maybe if we can give 2 minutes to participants so that they can fill it in now.
You're too fast for me. That's what I was about to say.
Sorry.
No, perfect. Yeah, sounds that's exactly what Alice just said. So there is one on that note. Thank you very much for that positive feedback already. But if you have positive, negative, constructive feedback on the Academy as a whole, there's a final survey on the OpenEDX platform, which Alice has just shared, I think, on the Slack as well. Is it on Slack? I'm not seeing it. Someone asked, did I miss any quiz? There is no quiz for today. I believe this is the Oh, it's on. Sorry, yeah, it's on the Slack, the Zoom chat, but I just posted it on Slack as well for anybody who, yeah, if you can take 2 minutes to fill out that feedback form, that would be very great. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for filling out that feedback. Really appreciate it. And with that, I think we'll wrap up the course by having, as I mentioned, kind of a group picture. So if everyone who's on the call and has a video available can turn on your video, we'll try to, hi everyone, we will try to create kind of a group picture from this. And I'm looking forward to, these always come out pretty nicely. So let's see how many people we can get on one screen. That's going to be the big question, I guess. Got a few here already. I think we're still recording, so we should have this on the video as well. Yeah. Nice. Getting more and more people. Great to see all your faces. It's hard to do these virtually because I have no idea who I'm talking to. Sometimes I think I'm just talking to myself.
Austin, really happy to see you again.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. And yeah, so I think with that we will wrap it up, and we'll be in touch with a few final logistics on Slack. If you want to submit anything from the first workshop or the July project, and you were not a part of that June workshop, so you don't have access to the OpenEDX course, I will post just now on the general channel the email that you should use to submit those things. So it is webapps2020@dhs2.org. And please submit by Monday, if possible, to be considered for the certification. If you want to submit things from the workshop 1 or the July project. I'm posting that on the general channel now. And with that, I think we will wrap it up. Thank you everyone again. I really appreciate you all being here, and look forward to seeing the apps that you build with all of this knowledge. Yeah, as always, reach out to us if you have any questions or feedback about the tools or the content or DHIS2 in general, and we're very happy to help. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and thank
you.
you very much to all of my fellow instructors as well.